is that today is the day you're supposed to have rejoicing, you're supposed to have bonfires, you're supposed to have picnics, you're supposed to have all that stuff. And then at sunset, in Israel already, it's beyond May 5th, but at sunset, you go back to a mourning period. And the question is, what's this day of celebration amidst a period of mourning of 32 days before May 5th? And then you continue the mourning on May 6th. And what's involved here? Well, to begin with, if you don't mind me taking a few minutes doing this, you have the Passover Haggadah. If you read the article on the Jewish holidays, you have it somewhat referred to and described. Since I'm using the time now to talk about this, let me give you the reference. Leviticus chapter 23 is one of the places where Jewish holidays, so-called, are found. It is nice to see Leviticus 23 because all the major holidays are put together, so it appears. Not all of them, but the holidays at the time of the writing of this book of Leviticus, or as traditional Jews would say, as a revelation of the Torah at Sinai. So what you have in Leviticus 23 is the reference of Vaydaber Hashem. That reference in sentence number 1, the reference to the deity is the four-letter name of God, the Yud He Vav He. They're pronounced by Christians as Yehovah, as they read the vowels Yehovah, so Yehovah or Jehovah would be anglicized Christianity. Jews would say the word Hashem is the name, and if they say the Yud He Vav He is Adonai, it has to be part either of a teaching lesson, which I'm doing right now, or most probably part of a ritual such as a blessing. In any case, the reference is the Lord and translation. Yud He Vav He translates not as God, but as Lord, as I'm looking at my translation here, speaks to Moses. And that Vayadaber, that Vav letter, is the Vav HaKippuch. It is the Vav conversive, because the word Yedaber on its own is the future, but the translation God spoke. So the Vav pointed with a patach, as you might have on your notes. Normal pointing of the Vav is with a Shvanah, but with a Vav pointed with a patach, chances are it's not the Vav HaChipuch, it's not the Vav HaChibur, it's not the Vav of conjunction called the Vav HaChibur, but it's the Vav HaChipuch, the Vav that converts the past to the future. And that's what you see when the Vav is pointed with a patach. And that's what I have here, Vaydaber. Not, and the Lord will speak to Moses, but the Lord spoke in the past tense to Moses. And once you have that formula, then what follows in Jewish tradition is authoritative and cannot easily be dispelled. So keep that in mind for a Torah principle. Whenever you have the word God said or God spoke, words that follow are said to be authoritative and not easily dismissed. And what you have here is that God said the following on the mouth of God, speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them, Moadei Hashem, Asher Tikru Otam. In the so-called translation, the appointed seasons of the Lord, Moadei Hashem, appointed seasons of the Lord, you shall proclaim as holy convocations. Even these are my appointed seasons. Well, that word appointed seasons, holy convocations, appointed seasons, seems to emphasize that what's going to follow, the holidays that follow, are holy convocations, gatherings. They are appointed not by history per se, but by the Lord God himself, it seems. And then there's another issue. Whenever you talk Judaism and have the two divine names, the attribute associated with Hashem is the attribute of mercy. And the attribute associated with Lord, with God, Elohim, is the attribute of justice. If memory serves me correctly, and I don't even have a note on that, but I'm almost sure I'm right about that. Let me double check whenever I make a statement of that caliber. I want to make sure I'm right about that. The two divine names, the name Lord and the name God. When the word Lord is used, the attribute is mercy. When the word God is used, the attribute is justice. And what's interesting, when you make a traditional blessing, bless thou, O Lord, our God. Blessed thou, O Lord, you're approaching the reference of God as mercy, and then mercy in demonstration appears to always have justice associated with it. That's how you can interpret this. If you can't talk theological language, then talk in terms of justice and mercy. But I find it interesting that the four letters is mercy, and the regular name God is justice. And how do you speak your English? Oh my God, oh my Lord. I guess you say God all the time. God, please help me. How many times do we say Lord? Now that you say the word God, keep in mind it has the attributes of mercy. Have some mercy on me. Lord, forgive me. Well, forgiveness is not possible unless justice is first administered. And don't we not know that as Christians? Anyway, back to Christianity and back to Judaism. So the appointed seasons, and I think the only thing I want to make about that statement, a season is not determined by the moon. A season is determined by the Earth's rotation around the sun. So there are four seasons. There's a spring season. Let's get the names down. There's a season of the spring, I guess, which we'll write down as Aviv. There's a spring, the season that follows is called Kayetz. Let me first write them down. Okay, so Aviv is spring, Kayetz is summer, Chorev, I guess, is fall, and Stav is winter. I think. No, reverse it. Stav, I believe, is fall. Yeah. And Chorev. Chorev. Let me double check that.
What is the winter?
Wait a minute. No, my mind is playing a trick on me right now. Stav, I'm sure, is fall. And notice how I spell that word. I'll go into that in a second. Let me double check those words. But these are the four seasons. And what you have in this declaration of Leviticus 23 is that the holidays, the holy convocations as they're called, will be observed in their proper seasons. That is not possible if you follow only a lunar year, as the Muslims can demonstrate. Their holidays come out the same holiday in the four different seasons. It doesn't stay in one particular season. Let me just double check the translation of the word Stav. Yeah, Stav is the word for autumn. Stav, autumn. Well, autumn is fall. That's how I know that word. But if you want to be fancy with your English, it's autumn. Also interesting that the dictionary spells the word Stav both the way I have it on the board and also spells it without the Yud, which makes it very relevant to the class in Hebrew right now. How is it, Professor Garber, you spell the word Stav with the Yud, and now the other spelling, according to the Milon, the dictionary, a book of authority for our purposes, doesn't spell it with the Yud, has both spellings. This is what happens when a language is used over the decades, over the years. What is biblical Hebrew spelling and what is medieval Hebrew spelling, and God forbid, what is Israeli Hebrew spelling and what is Ashkenazi spelling, whatever, reflects the generation from which it comes. And I guess a full dictionary will have both alternated spellings. But what's interesting is behind each one of these words, there is something, how can I put it, innate about the word. Aviv is the word for spring. Spring deals with nature coming alive, springing into action, I guess. And the spring months are roughly from the end of March I guess, to June or thereabouts. What's interesting about summer, which you don't see in English, but you do see in Hebrew, is that the root of the word summer, kayetz, that word kates, this letter and this letter, is the Hebrew word for finality, for end, suggesting that the summer is a season of end. Nothing grows anymore. Nothing continues to live anymore. Things come to an end. Why the summer is so crucial as far as vegetarian and existence goes. It's a kayetz. It's the end. And it ain't by accident, according to Garber's way of doing interpretation between nature and history, that the greatest tragedy that Jews remember, in addition to the Shoah, is the destruction of the two temples, which occurred not in spring, but in the summer. The Av month, the month of Av. Stav is spelled with either spelling. Once you have a kamatz with a yud, should you not pronounce a diphthong? Should it not be stiv? And it's very possible that the original pronunciation of the word for autumn was the the kamatz, and that yud gave it a diphthong sound. We lost that sound. We pronounced it a stav. And if you pronounce it a stav, then why bother to write the yud there? But the yud was there from the beginning. And if the yud becomes silent, what are you going to do? Get rid of it? You got now 10 children in the family, and one child is totally handicapped. Can't move, can't talk, can't breathe. What are you going to do? You're moving now. You're going to take that baby with you? It has no value anymore. But Jeremiah, who comes from a family of more than one kid, Baruch, I don't know how many children in your family. My family is totally restricted to two type of thing. But John, you have multiple children. What are you going to do with the crippled one? What you definitely don't do is disregard them. You get more wisdom from their actions of being handicapped than you can possibly have from all the scientists sitting together. Another word that has the yud vav is a word you use every day, akshav. Akshav means now. Spelled achshav. CVC is the first syllable. Then the letter shin with a kamatz followed by the yud. We don't say akshav, we say akshav. But akshav is spelled with a kamatz yud that follows. When you hear Hebrew spoken, there's no way you can tell how to spell that word with a yud in it. So between these two words, akshav, now, and stav, as I'm double checking, for the word autumn, you have a good example where letters are found which have no pronunciation anymore, but at one time you assume it did have a pronunciation. And the word chorev is the word for winter. So I guess of the four seasons, the season that is terrible is the season of the summer where there's no more evidence of life. But the setting in of no more evidence of life is when the fall season sets in. And it's for that reason that Judaism, the religion, has rituals that deal with rain during the fall season, following Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the holiday of tabernacles. And I go into great detail with that when we get to the fourth semester, Jewish Religious Heritage. That whole period of Sukkot, the Jews have a prayer basically called the Hallel prayer. They also have prayers for rain and for water. And then it's hoped that the prayers for the Geshem, for the rain, would indeed be fulfilled. Geshem, rain. And if it's not, then the month that follows, the month of Tishrei. Tishrei is the month where you have the major holidays of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. And Sukkot has that last day called Shemini Atzeret, which is a separate holiday, the 8th day following the 7 days of Sukkot. And no one in this community is ever going to forget 2023 when Shmini Atzeret occurred on Shabbat and the Gaza genocide began. Anyway, the month of Tishrei. The month that follows Tishrei is called Cheshvan. I'm doing this for a purpose. Cheshvan. And Cheshvan is normally understood with a prefix Mar Cheshvan. Mar Cheshvan. Mar does not mean Mr. here. Mar is the word for bitter, bitterness. Why would a month of a year be called bitter? Is it because you just celebrated the 3 high holidays in Tishrei? Now all of a sudden you're disappointed, no more holidays? Hezron has no holidays, and that's why it's bitter. That's if you want to be rational. If you want to be mystical, and if you want to be historical, the month of Cheshvan was called Mar Cheshvan because the rains prayed for, were not coming. You don't have rains in Cheshvan, then the month that follows, Kislev, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. Kislev. Now we're going more than 1 month without rain. 2nd month, the 3rd month. In the spring, you don't get rains. In the spring, you get sunshine. That means there's not going to be rains anymore until next year. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some April showers. That's how terminologies are used. And for my good friend Baruch and now Yirmiyahu, you'll get into a habit of doing something like this as well, because Gentiles of Torah tradition, as Lewis would tell me, they now stay outside for a whole week for the Holiday of Tabernacles. What the hell are you doing? You're Christians. But if you know your evangelical Christianity, the Lord Jesus is coming around the Holiday of Tabernacles. Don't stay in your house. Get out there in that tabernacle. Wait for him. Lewis has got all kinds of videos out of Peru somewhere, where you have these Peruvian Gentiles for Torah, whatever term can I use, dressed in prayer shawls, coming out with their shofars, and they're marching all over the mountaintop there, with them pronouncing, we know how to observe Torah. We have the tabernacle on a mountaintop, not in somebody's house. And they're right about that too. They go right into nature. But for Christian, we'll wait for the Messiah. Jeremiah, am I correct? Is there a tradition, tabernacles and Jesus? Okay. And Baruch, you should know that thousands of his Christians, at least until recently, before the wars, made their pilgrimage to Israel around this period of tabernacles. On one label they had, we love Israel. The other label they have, waiting for Mashiach, whom they call Yeshua, using the Hebrew/Aramaic. That's what I mean by integrating the two and make sure we know that there are distinctions involved, etc. Meanwhile, the whole business of rain is not coming, and you're now into the month of Kislev. And Kislev has that long Seirei with a Yud. I can write the word Kislev without that Yud to say the same word, but it's written with a Seirei followed by a Yud. That's an unusual, phoneme in Hebrew.
So this is the order that they come in. Tishrei is month number 1, Hashvan is 2, and Kislev is 3.
I'm sorry?
This is the order of the months that you're going down. Tishrei is month number 1, Hashvan is month number 2, and Kislev is month number 3. I don't know my months.
Yeah, well, Tishrei is the 7th month. The 8th month, if you want to say, is the month of Cheshvan. And the 9th month, I guess, is Kislev. But if you look at the annotated Passover Haggadah, you got all the months there, and I'm working from memory right now. My point is, in the month of Kislev, if you think now with an English American calendar, September, October is your holidays. November, well, so let's put it October, November, and December. So the month of October will be basically Cheshvan. The month of December will be basically the month of Kislev. And in Kislev, you have a minor holiday, which has become a holiday of complete, complete confusion and also identification. Because the month of December in the Christian calendar is identified, at least with most Christians in this country, with the holiday of the birth of Jesus on December 25th. And here is where Christians have a battle royal. I would tell you that the Gentiles for Torah do not recognize December 25th. They don't recognize Halloween on November, whatever date that is. They follow a Torah Jewish orientation. And Jews themselves all of a sudden stop studying Torah on December 25th, lest they get paganized as being the murderers of Jesus again. But I find it's interesting that Jews celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days. And Jews are told you celebrate your holiday for 8 days because of a can of oil or a cup of oil or a glass of oil or a jar of oil that was supposed to burn for one night, burns for 8 days when the Maccabees finally liberate that temple from the Hellenistic Greeks in 167 to 165, the Maccabean War. Now, people like my good fighter over there, Jeremiah, is saying, why is the book of Maccabees not included in the Hebrew Tanakh? And a possible answer is because the Maccabees got their victory by a sword in hand and not by sitting down and studying Torah.
From 167 to 165?
The Maccabean revolt was probably between 167 and 165. You might find it to 164. Check my chapter, you'll see it exactly. It was around that period, second pre-Christian century. That's how tradition has the story. And so the explanation is it deals with a sword, it deals with war, it deals with this, keep it out of the Torah. But for heaven's sakes, the 5 books of Moses itself has swords in hand. And the other books with Joshua, God knows how many times we have wars and wars and wars and wars. But then again, the book of Maccabees is a later book, and possibly the rabbis who make decisions, what goes in, what goes out, decided to keep this book out. So, 1 minute, so goes the explanation. But Jews follow that tradition. They do have the holiday of Hanukkah. They do celebrate it. They say an oil for one night is now for 8 days, etc. And now, Baruch, the reason why I want you to listen is because the explanation of the oil is nothing more than a hypothetical explanation which fits very nicely for people like Baruch at the table. What's the real reason, Professor? Don't get angry at me. The real reason is rain. Rain!
Professor?
Since you couldn't have a temple, you couldn't have Hoshana Rabbah, you couldn't have Shmini Atzeret, you couldn't have Sukkot, you couldn't do your own Jewish thing in the month of Cheshvan, in the month of Tishrei. The first opportunity to restore the rain ritual, as recorded in the Maccabees, by the way, was the month in Kislev. Most probably the reason for the 8 days is not 8 days of battle. It's not a war oil that burns for 8 days, even though that's the accepted traditional explanation. It's probably the rain ritual. And once you have the rain ritual, then you got a religious component. If all you're talking about is defeating the Greeks there, then you have a military component. And there are Jews today in Israel who will not celebrate holiday of Hanukkah with any celebration because they associate it with military warfare. And my 2 scholars in this classroom doubt what I'm saying right now. Look at the state of Israel right now. You got demonstrations like in Iran against Israel's government to get the hell out of war right now and start going back to a real civilization. And Baruch is saying the hell with that until we get rid of the enemy completely. And now what's happening? A new war. Iran with 3 Arab states. I can't believe what's happening. Now it's Iran fighting the Arab Emirates or whatever they're called there. Yeah, there's just no end. And what about the United States of America? We got our troops somewhere up there as well. My wife, who follows the news, simply says, "My dear husband, get ready for the Third World War."
Well, the problem is people don't know when to stop.
My dear friend Jeremiah, don't laugh. You got China and Russia involved right now. What the hell's going on here?
Proxy war.
No, this stuff gets very serious. And the point, and Jewish, this month of May to be, I guess, a Jewish historical month, where people are saying you're celebrating Jews. Every day we celebrate them with their genocide, and now you celebrate them with their accomplishments. This world is run by Jews. And Baruch, look for your mail. I'm going to be sending you and the others in the classroom Sesame Street last Friday, which celebrated Jewish Historical Month, and the reaction of the readers. The hell are you doing? Jews again, Jews again, Jews again, Jews again. The only problem is the Jew that's speaking happens to be a black Jewish woman who's proud of her skin, proud of her heritage, wears a Star of David. Now, all of a sudden, we've got Jews who don't look like Baruch or me. That's the irony. What the world is now discovering is that Jews come from every ethnic group you can possibly imagine, and groups that don't even know anybody. Can't believe where Jews are coming from now. And these are not Jews that converted last week. They go back centuries, apparently. And you want the next statement? Muslims. There are Muslims who are not Israeli Muslims. There are Muslims who converted to Judaism all of a sudden. There's one sheikh that's going around screaming, how can we condemn Israel? The Quran mentions the land of Israel, the children of Israel. How can you dispute the Quran? He's right about that, by the way. That's what's going on right now. Anyway, the month of Kislev is the month of Hanukkah. Hanukkah means dedication, and the dedication is the situation dealing with the dedicating of the temple without its pagan roots associated with it, without the paganism of the Greeks associated with it. And then to bring it up to an actual situation I was involved in, the Chabad community, the leader, Rabbi Baruch Kuhn, called me from class, got me out of class to testify that they can have a menorah in the Santa Monica, whatever they have their house of government there. Anyway, and Santa Monica did not permit the menorah because it was seen as a religious object, which it is for most American Jews. I was asked to testify that it was not. Cunin knew smart who to call. And I told they took my testimony on the phone, and I said Hanukkah deals with military, it has nothing to do with religion. And I'm not inaccurate about it. In fact, I wrote a whole article about it. If I can get the article available for you, I'll send it on to you. Anyway, people, what goes on with language, and so you have this. So what about the word Lag BaOmer? Lag BaOmer is not mentioned in Leviticus 23 at all. Lag BaOmer is later, and you'll see why in a second. Now, if you look at Leviticus 23, what I find to be fascinating, the first of the season's holiday is the 6 days you shall work, and the 7th day is a solemn rest. So right at the very beginning, the very first sentences of the book of Genesis, and if one is an evangelical Christian, for God's sakes, the very first sentences of the Old Testament talks about the holiday of the Shabbat to be on the 7th day. So how are you going to dispute this? What I can say is the following. If Sunday for the Christian is the day of the memory of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, then what a Christian should be doing is observing 2 days. The Shabbat for a day of rest, stop working on that day, relax a little bit, know your family. And then the next day, do it as a day of the resurrection. Don't cancel one or the other. But there are Christians for Torah who somehow don't do Sunday anymore. Lewis's group doesn't do Sunday. It's not for me to say anything. I can only observe what I see. All right. If I read the statement about the Sabbath, it says here, 6 days you shall work be done. On the seventh day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no manner of work. It is a Sabbath to the Lord in all your dwellings. Okay, you shall do no manner of work. For very traditional Jews, no manner of work includes not just work in a workplace, it includes work in the yard, it includes turning on radio, television, and stuff like that. Which for a Christian, wow, what's that? That's really going very, 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 far-reaching with this.
So technically, you can't even open the refrigerator. I mean, what was it?
Yeah, he's right about that.
Turning up,
That's right.
turning or starting a
That's
fire,
right. That's
turning
right.
on or turning off a light. You open the refrigerator,
Yeah.
there's a thing.
No, Baruch is right.
Unless you unplug the light bulb beforehand.
Yeah, that's what observant Jews would do.
And then they got separate dishes for meat, dairy.
Well, that's already something else now. I was about to say, Jeremiah, if you're ever in Israel and the hotel you're staying at, I don't care if it's 5-star or no stars, the elevators will be told whether they work on Shabbat or not. You're saying, look, I'm spending all my money coming to this country. I'm trying to be a supporter of Israel. What the hell are you doing? You're discouraging me. I can't even use your elevator. The answer is the elevator can be used. It stops at every floor. You can't be pushing a button. So they set up the elevator. It stops at every door, every floor.
How do
People,
you initially call it or get it to go?
how's that?
How do you initially call it or get it to go? Activate it to go. You gotta push it, or you gotta get a push to activate it or get it to go to you up or down or to move.
I'm not sure I heard your question. All I know is that an elevator, apparently you're turning on, turning off electricity, whatever it is. And so the elevators in major hotels in Israel have a setting that can work on Shabbat where it does it automatically. You don't push the button what floor. It will stop at different floors, including the floor that you want. You get used to it. You're told about it before. And maybe there is an elevator used by those who feel that that's nonsense and they can just push buttons. I don't know. I just know that they have these type of elevators. But then again, in Israel, to live this way is not that difficult if you have lots of people following this type of tradition. It's in America where it's difficult. But then again, you have a guy that was killed by the name of Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk has a book. I have not seen it yet published. It's due out in the month of January called The Sabbath. He's an evangelical Christian who's then decided with his wife a couple of years ago to start observing the Sabbath. No radio, no television. I said to myself, you're not obligated. And then you got a group known as the Noachites. The Noachites is the Torah's way, according to rabbinic tradition, of having Gentiles keep the equivalent of 613 commandments by following 7. And the 7 commandments of the Noachites does not mention the Sabbath at all. And the Noachites get a little disturbed by this. What's the matter? Can't we do these things too? And they do. I've seen them shop at Cambridge. That's a very Orthodox supermarket I go to. I don't know how Orthodox it is, it's just that that's where I buy my stuff. So you have different groups with different ways of interpreting, etc. And then you have Christians who get very disturbed by other Christians called the Seventh-day Adventists or the Jehovah's Witness. And the Seventh-day Adventists, be very careful, they're divided. One group says, you got a baby boy, you circumcise not the 9th day, not the 20th day, 8th day. And they're very persistent on that. So what the hell's all this about? It says the 8th day, Mr. Garber. That's Isaac. It's us. That's it. Don't argue with these people. And then Morocco. Let me give credit to the Moroccan king. He was told by Adolf Hitler, Yamach Shemo, may his name be forever erased, we say, to hand over all Jews. The king of Morocco in 1930, whatever he was asked in 43, said there are no Jews in this empire. We're all Moroccans. He saved the Moroccan Jews. And to this day, the Moroccan Jewish community has either a special prayer for him or a special memory for him. Are you aware of this?
No. But
Then Baruch, you better look into it. The Moroccan king during Hitler's period is revered in the Moroccan Jewish community. I'm shocked. You're not aware of this?
I'm aware that they have a lot of respect and revere him.
No, it's more than
because
that.
takes
This
care
guy,
of everything.
he literally saved the whole Moroccan Jewish community. He said, we don't have any Moroccan Jews. We're all Moroccans. And he could have been beheaded right there by Hitler's army.
Because they had Rommel was in Africa, North Africa.
I don't know what they have. All I know is that this is a story that should be well known. Anyway, it's good to see Ellie coming right now, particularly with that last point. Ellie, what we're doing is we're playing around with certain concepts with Lag BaOmer, and that's what we've been doing since the class began. All right, I'm looking at Leviticus chapter 23. Once you have the Shabbat that's mentioned, then you go again with sentence number 4. These are the appointed seasons, and again, the season determined by the solar, not by the lunar. And in rabbinic tradition, there's the need to balance the lunar year, which is the moon, the moon, the moon, the moon, the moon, and 12 months to the moon, the moon, the moon, which totals up to 354 and a quarter days, I'm told, and a solar year, which is 365 and a half days, and how to make a distinction between the two if they have to be combined together. That's where you have the oral Torah coming up with the theory that you add an additional month to the calendar 7 times in 19 years. So people like Eli and Baruch ought to be asking, why 7 and 19 years? What's going on here? And the explanation for people like Jeremiah and me is that Jews did not live in one community at that time. They lived in dispersed lands, which meant it took time to travel from Yerushalayim to go to Egypt, for example, to tell the Egyptian community when the time to celebrate the holiday is to begin. So roughly a day is added. So whenever Jews have major holidays, diaspora Jews will have an additional day. Passover in Israel is 1 day. Jews in diaspora who are traditional will have 2 days. Same thing is true about Sukkot. It says 2 days, not 1 day in the beginning. The same thing is true of Shavuot. It's 2 days, not 1 day. The additional day is added because of the calendar. So people like Baruch and Eli are saying, I am now living in Israel. The test is, are you living in Israel or visiting Israel? If you're just visiting, then you observe 2 days as if you're in diaspora. If you're mamash living in the country, then you can become now an Israeli Jew and not have to be a diaspora Jew. So your professor went through both those experiences. My family made Aliyah. I followed the Israeli calendar like an Israeli, even though I was an American Jew. The minute I came back to America, I came back to Israel to visit my parents, I had to practice the American Jewish way. Anyway, these are things that people are not that aware of unless they study it. And then something else that most of us don't know. I'm looking at sentence number 6. On the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. On sentence number 5, it says in the first month, that's the month of Nisan, at dusk, at sunset, is the Lord's Passover. What you have is 2 different holidays. The Pesach, the Lord's Passover. The Hebrew phrase has a Pesach Lashem, the Passover of the Lord. That's on the 14th day. And then B'Chamisha Asar Yom, on the 15th day, is the holiday called Chag HaMatzot. How many Jews know there were 2 different holidays? They know it as one holiday where you have the Pesach and the Matzot together. That's what your Seder plate is about. You got a little shank bone and you got your matzah there. Back in the day, it's like 2 different occasions, and it fits what I'm about to say. The seasons that we're talking about have nothing to do with history per se, but primarily have to deal with agriculture. Pesach is sacrificial offering, the hunter. Matzot is the unleavened bread, the agriculturist. Your appointed seasons deal with agriculture and with pastoral life. It's only later where we no longer have that type of memory that we associate it with history. And with history, we join the two together. So goes a critical understanding of Hag HaMatzot and Hag HaPesach. The same thing with Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of Atzeret, has nothing to do with Sukkot, but because it follows 24 hours after Sukkot, it's seen as part of the Sukkot holiday. Once you understand, these are separate entities which are so similar, so connected, they're united. And for Jeremiah's community, Jesus is so seen as a Christian God Messiah. But he's so connected with the Jews that Christians now are connected with Jews one way or another. And there's no way to separate. Jesus is not a Christian. He did not observe Christmas. He did not observe Easter. He did not observe any of that stuff. He lived and died an observant Jew. That's all the Christian has to hear. Now what are they going to do? Learn about Judaism. Don't become the Jew. God forbid. Stay the Christian. But Judaizing Christianity is now a phenomenon taking place, of which I support. It's not my choice. It's Christians doing this. And that's where the Omer comes in. If you now take a look at this business here, I'm looking at sentence number 7. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation, you shall have no manner of work. You shall bring an offering made by fire. That's your Paschal offering. And then sentence number 9, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel. And then it goes on and says, and you will come into the land which I give you, you shall reap the harvest thereof. Okay, the fact that you have the reference of the Paschal offering, it says 7 days, not a problem. The 8th day is because you're living in diaspora. But sentence number 9 is where the Omer comes in. The Lord spoke to Moses, that's again the authoritative voice, speaking to the children of Israel, saying to them, when you come into the land which I give unto you, this is not land that you're going to conquer. This is land which I authorize for you. You shall reap the harvest thereof. You shall bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest into the priests. And you shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall weave it. Okay, that's where you get the counting of the so-called Omer. The Omer is a sheaf, S-H-E-A-F. Is that how it's spelled in English? And it deals with the vegetation of the land. The Paschal offering is the Pesach. Everything else now is the bringing of the sheaf. And the counting of the Omer starts on the second night of Passover. Because the Passover of the Matzot, the Passover of the Pesach are now united. So that's where you get the term 33rd day of the Omer. So what's all that about? Do you understand what I'm doing? The season of the spring begins with the Pesach, it begins with the Hag HaMatzot, and then it continues with the harvest of the land. Every day you bring the sign of that. And so you start counting. It ends with the holiday called Shavuot. Today, May 5th, happens to be the so-called Lag BaOmer. And what's special about this day? According to rabbinic tradition, Jews were slaughtered during the spring season. Not the Torah, rabbinic tradition. And the number is 24,000 Talmidei Chachamim, students of Rabbi Akiva, were slaughtered, and the slaughter, because they studied Torah, came to an end on a 33rd day of the Omer count. Today. All kinds of questions. Why the number 24,000? Why not 30,000? I have no idea. And the Rabbi Akiva, I can tell you about this guy. Rabbi Akiva, at the age of 25, knew no Hebrew. At the age of 33, knew no Hebrew. He studied his Hebrew and learned his alphabet at the age of 40. 40 years old? You got to be kidding me. Comes one of the great sages? Yeah. Again, tradition, folklore, factuality, all combined together. Rabbi Akiva is also the one who's said to have lived 120 years. Nobody lives 120. Yirmiyahu, in Jewish tradition, you wish somebody good luck, a happy birthday, Ad Me'av Yesrim, it's 120. Why not 130? You don't go any more than Moses. Moses, according to our tradition, lived 120. Jesus, according to Christian tradition, based on New Testament sentiments, 33 years possibly. Keep that number 33 in mind. Akiva is also the rabbi. If you go to your Passover Haggadah, there's a paragraph of rabbis sitting in Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak is still around today. It's a very Orthodox community. And what the hell are these rabbis doing? Telling the story of Pesach, you would like to think. But the morning comes and their Talmidim, their disciples, knock on the window and saying, Rabbis, it's time for the morning Shema. What are you doing? And for Yirmiyahu, it's important that you all hear the following. You're supposed to end your Passover Haggadah reading at 12 midnight. That's the hour that the Israelites went out of Egypt, midnight. No Jewish home that does the Haggadah seriously ever ends at 12. They're busy talking, schmoozing, eating. I talk food. Well, whatever they're doing here. One of the longest nights of my career has always been Passover. When people leave, when we were signing a lot of guests, I washed dishes somehow. I got them cleaned or whatever I did there. You go sleep till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Akiva is also the rabbi who's mentioned with the famous Bar Kokhba. There was a Jewish revolutionary by the name of Bar Kokhba. Bar is Aramaic. Kokhba, if I want to be accurate, I should be Kokhba. He's pronounced as Kokhba, C-O-C-H, I guess. This really is a vet. This is an Aramaic word for Kochav, star. Bar is Aramaic for the word Ben, son. The man's original name was Kosiba. Kosiba. Nobody knows him as Kosiba. Or Kosiva, if you wish, if I write it with a long character. But he was the revolutionary leader who in 133 to 135 was successful in the second Christian century in halting off the Romans. He eventually was defeated. There are coins found by archaeologists which had the liberation of the land of Israel during Bar Kokhba's reign. That's how successful he was. So now you have two traditions about Lag BaOmer. One tradition is that Akiva's disciples was finally no longer slaughtered. And we rejoiced with picnics and fires. Only this year, the Sephardic chief rabbi, Ovadia, son of Ovadia Yosef, I should say Yosef is last name, gave strict instructions. You don't go to Meron. Meron is said to be the place where you celebrate Lag BaOmer. Shimon Bar Yochai is buried there, said to be one of the last disciples of Rabbi Akiva. Also credited with writing the Zohar, which is a classic book of the mystics, of the Kabbalists. Factually, that's not correct. The Zohar was put together finally in the 13th Christian century. But that's all right. We don't use facts anymore. Shimon Bar Yochai is buried in Meron. Rabbi Akiva is buried in Tiberias. In the last couple of years, there were picnics and fires at Rabbi Akiva's burial spot in Tiberia. But it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai where the major bonfires are found. And thousands go to it. Meanwhile, the chief Sephardic rabbi said, not this year. His explanation, are you crazy? What are you talking about, chief rabbi? Are you listening, Baruch and Eli? We're at war right now. The bonfire can wait. It didn't wait. It went to Jerusalem. Jerusalem all of a sudden had bonfires all over. So I'm reading. I have no idea what the hell happened. I just know that Rabbi Yosef said, please leave Meron alone. Don't go there. What war can do. You people weren't even born when World War II happened. I was born in 41. Japanese hit Pearl Harbor. I have no idea what restrictions my parents had to do. I do know, I remember going shopping with my mother, and we had restrictive tickets for what we could buy in the dairy section. One bottle of milk, maybe. That's it. This country was at war. You should never know what it is. Anyway, back to Meron. And the question is, why on the 33rd day? And then it's not only that. On the 34th day, Jews who are Ashkenazim are told go back to mourning again. The Sfaradim, on the other hand, have the 34th day as a day of mourning. By the 35th day, no more mourning. So how come you guys don't no longer have to mourn and the Ashkenazim do? I don't know. I do know that the 33rd day is supposed to have been the succession of Akiva students being killed, and also the Zionist part of Lag BaOmer, when Bar Kokhba, with sword in hand, was able to defeat the Romans. Is that the reason? Yeah. Not all Israelis are religious. And now, Yirmiyahu, you Christians are not let go. The 33rd day is a day of rejoicing. It's associated with Jesus. What are you talking about? The 33rd day is the day that Jesus died and resurrected. Do you see what tradition does? It will take a number, it will squeeze it, it will associate, and it will venerate. And then let me talk about you as Americans right now. What the hell happened on May 1st? Were there demonstrations? Sure they were. Labor and all that stuff. It's not, again, a coincidence that Lag BaOmer is right at the right same time as your May Day celebrations. Does it have anything to do with it? I doubt it. But that's how you can bring together different traditions. Oh, wait a minute. May 5th? Are you people stupid as I am? May 5th in California is a special day. Cinco de Mayo. Baruch, you should know this. Cinco de Mayo deals with Mexico. But this area is no longer, this area is no longer, yeah, we're now, okay. Well, Cinco de Mayo, wait a minute, this area has become Salvadorian, I'm told. So the Salvadorians don't have a Cinco de Mayo. But I find it interesting.
They celebrate in the state of Mexico.
Oh, whatever they do. All right, but May 5th, it's interesting this year, Lag BaOmer, Cinco de Mayo, the Bar Kokhba explanation, the death of Jesus, resurrection explanation, they all go built into that 5th day. The picnics, and also more important, it's the day that marriages are permitted. Yeah, let me repeat this one. This one is more serious. The Lag BaOmer is the one day that you can get yourself married, engaged, have a celebration, and marriages without end take place on this day. Otherwise, you have a whole 49 days there, or 47 weeks. That's 49 days, I guess, where you don't have marriages at all. The only way you interrupt the so-called mourning period for Akiva's disciples, if you take all 49 days, is naturally the Shabbat. But once Shabbat ends, you're back to mourning again, type of thing. Semi-mourning. No haircuts, no shaving of the beards, no joyous games. And I guess for some religious Jews, this is very much followed and seriously followed. Anyway, the Lag BaOmer. And then the other thing I need to call to your attention, sentence number 16. Let's put it up with sentence number 15. Usfartim lachem imachrat Shabbat. The translation, you shall count unto you from the morrow of the day of rest, is the translation I have here. From the day that you brought the sheaf of weaving, it says in English, 7 weeks shall there be complete. All right, so that's sentence number 15. You are to count from the morrow of the Shabbat, which is translated in English as a day of rest. And you are to bring the Omer, Sheva Shabbatot, 7 weeks, 7 Sabbaths, it says here. In the English of the word Shabbatot, 7 weeks, they translate it. All right, now let me tell you a problem. I'm looking at my English and my Hebrew, 5 Books of Moses. It's the Jewish Publication Society, 1917 edition. I see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in numerals. But number 15, I see it in Hebrew, Tet Vav. I don't see Hebrew letters for the other sentences. Question. Why is the number 15 written in Hebrew, not as Yud He, but as Tet Vav? How many people read a Bible, Hebrew or English, and will be impressed with the question I'm going to ask? All the other sentences, 1, 2, 3, the numericals are found. Number 15 is not found, but Tet Vav, 9 and 6 is found, not 10 and 5. Or the 10 and 5, I can understand. Yud and He spell out the name of Hashem, the Yud He. But why for that sentence do you have the Hebrew letters? Is it because this sentence is the one that's going to stand out? I don't know. But it says, Mimacharat Shabbat, on the morrow after the Shabbat. Shabbat is the 7th day. That is why there are certain groups of Jews, known as Sadducees back in the day of the Pharisees, known as Samaritans today, another group, that will always do Shavuot on Sunday, 7 weeks after the Shabbat. You Jews don't do it. The day of rest is whenever Passover occurs, the middle of the week, you start counting from that period. That's interpretation. I suspect my fellow Christians are going to do the Bible seriously. They'll take that word Shabbat as a Sabbath and they will count it as a Sunday. It fits perfectly, Sunday to Sunday. Get it? 7 weeks later is the giving of the Torah on Sunday. Fits perfectly with the resurrection of the Lord on Sunday. That's why we Christians will call the Shabbat Saturday, but Sunday is a little different. See how I can become a pastor? I take the words and shift it or interpret it. That's what you do with interpretation. All right, people, I think you got the answer. And the Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day in America, still continues. When you go for bonfires, I doubt it very much. But in Israel, it's a very common occurrence, at least from what I remember. And I've been at Meron during Lag BaOmer, and there are quite a few people, thousands of people gather. And you better believe it, fights break out.
They've been drinking.
No, I don't drink, by the way.
No, I'm just saying when the fights break out, because it's like the
Yeah.
4th of July.
Yeah, well, maybe
It's the
so.
4th of July type of celebration. in the Jewish
But the
community.
sad thing is, Baruch, you know, this is a holiday of rejoicing. Let's argue that point. But people get into fights. They argue and they argue.
Fueled by alcohol, probably.
I don't know what it is. So your mom's going to say, "What do you think? You're alone?" We also get into fights.
But I had a response to the 24,000. You said where did it come from?
That's the number given, 24,000.
24,000. Look, it goes back. West Rich Midrash. It goes for the 24,000 killed in Shechem by Shimon and Levi, and then those 24,000 were Gilgulim to the 24,000 that were killed with Cosby, and when the Midianite women, the Moabite women went to go tempt the men, and then Pinchas came out, speared Cosby and Zimri, and ran them across the camp naked to stay off the plague, and they did the Kether service. So that was the other 24,000. But after that, the 24,000 continued to transmigrate to the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, of which he was left with only 5 of one of those, which was.
All right, and your first sentence is you're basing it on what? On sources? You mentioned 24,000 before Rabbi Akiva's 24,000.
Yeah, this is like going back to 2 times before.
I understand that. Where are you getting your information from?
Oh, this is like this is Midrash.
Okay, okay. Oh, it's very possible. All I know is that the association normally is made probably because of the fame of Rabbi Akiva. All right, people, I think we've covered a lot. I wasn't expecting to do this at all today, but I think it's necessary, particularly because this is the month of Jewish national celebration, of Jewish historical month, etc. And please look at your email from school. I will send you the article from one of the Israeli newspapers, Times of Israel. It's not an Israeli newspaper. Anyway, I get information from there as well about Sesame Street last Friday, having a reference of respect for Jewish Historical Month and the response of the audience of a number of people finding it to be very distasteful. And the Jews own this and the Jews own that. And it's just for your information. All right, people, I want to finish up this unit here. I looked at your papers already. For all practical purposes, you're doing what I like you to do, and you continue to do the exercises of the unit we're about to finish right now, and we're going to soon start a new unit after the break. But let me get back to what we still have to do in this unit here. So to help me out, Baruch, where did we leave off last time? Or Yirmiyahu, huh?
We're on 117, 118.
Yeah, I think so.
118, so we finished 3D2.
I think, yeah.
And we're to begin 3D3.
Okay. The Targil, the second part of that page on 118. Again, that word zeh is this, hazeh is a definite article. And as you see on page, on the top there, in reference to the exercise mizeh, who is this? Then the zeh, this is, zeh will be masculine singular, zot will be feminine singular. And that word ele is both male and female, and it's a plural word, these. We already have done that. Or let me do it very quickly for you. So we'll get back into the Hebrew, and then we'll do at least one exercise, then you take your break. Okay, I'm looking on page 118. The words, the dugma, the example cited. Zeh haTalmid hechadash. This is the new student. Again, you're reading without vowels. If it's possible, try to remember the definite article is with a patach. The next letter has dagesh chazak in it. HaTalmid, hey has a patach, tav has a dagesh in it. And then the hey letter before a laryngeal letter, which has a medial kamatz under it, is pointed with a segol. It's not HaTalmid HaChadash, but HaTalmid HeChadash. Zot Shoshana mi Be'er Sheva. This is Shoshana. Shoshana is a very pretty name. It's found, to my knowledge, only once in all the Tanakh, and it's mentioned in a book which lacks the name of God, and that's the book of Esther. Esther is introduced in the very beginning, not as Esther, but she's called Shoshana, and then the name shifts right away to Esther. And let me make that a point. If Shoshana is good Hebrew, how is it that Shoshana is dropped out of the book of Esther? How is it that the four-letter name of Hashem, dealing with mercy, is dropped out of the book of Esther? How is it that the word Elohim, the word identified with God, is dropped out of the book of Esther? The book of Esther, my three students, is a book that you and I can live by. It deals with diaspora. Esther is a diaspora name Astarte. Mordecai is a diaspora name Marduk. The story is not in the land of Israel at all. It deals with Jews finally getting sovereignty and recognition in a land that's now making headlines called Iran. Go figure this out. You want my philosophy? There's neither before nor after in the Bible. What happened then is happening now. What's happening now, I can find a paradigm that happened then. And maybe from the point of view of how I'm thinking right now, a little story I heard as a child. Jesus and Mary are hanging in a Catholic cathedral. The priest is now talking about Jews and Jesus. And the child Jesus looks up to his mom and says, Ima, I don't think we belong here. I don't think we belong here. I heard that story as a child. It's a powerful story. When the church goes anti-Semitic, Jesus says, we don't belong here. That's how you teach. And I'm glad to see evangelical Christians into Torah this way. I see them with the scholars. All right, enough of me talking this way. All right, the next one deals with me. Hamoreh Hameshah. Well, no, excuse me. I'm not a female. It says Hamorah Hameshah Memet. So if it's Hamorah, it would be Zot. Zot Hamorah Hameshah Memet. This is the boring teacher. Notice the word Moreh. Sentence number 3.
Oh, okay.
Section 1. I just did the Zot Shoshana. I went off on a tangent with Shoshana and Esther. I'm now sentence number 3. I look at the word Mem Vav Resh He. I don't know if it's Moreh or Morah, but the adjective gives it away. It has Mishah Memet with a Segol Tav. It makes it feminine, so the word is Hamorah, not Hamoreh. Zot Hamorah Hamishah Memet. And let me tell you something about the school. Right over here.
Oh,
Sentence
okay.
number.
You're on 118, okay, 118 on
Okay.
top. Okay.
All right. The school, part of what I did this weekend was to write over something of what Jewish Studies does in the classroom, etc. And part of the program that the school wants to initiate is that you don't make gender differences and you don't make racial differences. Everybody is inclusive. I can understand the inclusivity and equality, etc. But what do you do with a sentence when I say Hamorah? Am I supposed to say Hamishah Amen? That's where I have a problem. If the language does not have one gender, but has several genders, then you have to recognize the two genders. It's not being discriminated. It's not being discriminatory. All right, sentence number 4. I look at the subject, student team. It's plural, so it's Elah. Elah student team in America. I then see the sentence number 5. Studentit, that's feminine singular. The adjective tells me that, Ritzinit, serious. So Zot, Studentit, Ritzinit. This is a serious student. Sentence number 6, Zot, Rofa'ah, Tova. Try to say the word as Rofa'ah. Don't go Rofa'ah on me. Once you do Rofa'ah, you're closing the long cholam by blending the vav to it, the fe rather to it, and it's not called for. A long vowel should be part of an open syllable. And then there's a tendency of blending the vav, the fe, with the aleph. How many times do I hear people say rofa, rofa, rofa? Rofe is proper, but it's rofe'ah for feminine. Next sentence, number 7, Ela Pikidim Hadashim. These are new inspectors or new clerks. Professor me'universitas in masculine, so ze professor me'universitas. Anashim is plural. Ela anashim ma'anyanim. And finally, ish tov, a good person or a good man, ze ish tov. Okay, let's do one exercise before you take a break. See the example given, Ellie? Read the example and then convert it. We're looking at 3D3.
3D3, right?
Yes, read the example that's given, then you start.
זה תלמיד חדש, התלמידים הזה חדש.
Why are you making that Talmidim? Read the example as it's given. It doesn't say Talmidim.
זה תלמידים חדש.
No. Example number 1 reads Zet Talmid Chadash, and then you convert it to Hatalmid Hazeh Chadash. Are you seeing the right example? Are you? You look at the right exercise. All right, let's try it again. Read the Hebrew and translate first the Hebrew.
זה תלמיד חדש.
Translate.
This is a new student.
Okay, he's got the translation now. This is a new student. Now change it with what she has. Read what she writes.
התלמידים הזה,
Why Talmidim? Hatalmid.
התלמיד הזה חדש.
Translate.
This student is new.
Okay. Hatalmid Hazeh, this student, Hadash is new. The first one is this is a new student. Tamshich, continually.
זאת שחקנית מעניינת.
Translate.
This waiter,
Okay. Baruch, could you help him? The word Sachanit.
Sakan, I forget what it is.
All right. I suspect Baruch, you probably don't know. Okay, the word is,
Actor,
that's it. So a Sachanit is an actress. Let me just get that word down on the board. Again, the word has a shorish, sin, chet, kuf. Any word that has that particular root deals with acting, displaying something. Sachkan can also be vocalized as sachakan. Once you see the sachakan, this patach is potentially closed because originally there probably was a shvanach underneath that chet. Let's write both words down. 1 minute. I think I've seen this with you many times. A shvanach under a laryngeal letter opens up to one of the chatafim, no doubt because of pronunciation. Otherwise, the patach, how would you explain it being part of a closed syllable? If you see a patach, letter chet cannot have a zagesh chazak, and there's a chatah patach underneath the chet. Sachakan is masculine. Then you add the marker. Let's try the sachakanit. Yocheret Yotav is feminine. And the noun that you need to know for this is mischak. Mischak is a game, a mischak. You're into basketball, you got your games right now. You're into baseball, as I am. I can't wait to see the Yankees win again, if they can. It's a mischak. Anyway, that's what a mischak is. And this class, after a while, becomes a serious game, as we say that word in English now, a serious game. We're not playing around here, it's serious. All right, Ellie, back to you again. Read the example.
זאת שחקנית מעניינת.
Convert it.
What the way the example is. שחקנית הזה מעניינת.
No, you got hasachanit, but not in hazeh. Hasachanit.
Oh, does it start with הזה?
Sachanit is feminine, so it's not hazeh.
הזאת.
That's better. Hasachanit hazot me'anyenet. Translate for me, hasachanit hazot me'anyenet.
The actress of this.
All right, you got to work on this a little bit. Hasachanit hazot. If you look above, hatalmid hazeh, this student is new. So hasachanit hazot me'anyenet would be what?
שחקנית, the actress.
Actress Okay, this actress.
this.
Okay, what we're doing is the definite article is in front of the noun and the demonstrative pronoun this. So it's this student, this actress is sentence number 2. Now, again, it is interesting.
So what would be the correct one
This actress,
in Hebrew?
Just 1 minute. Baruch, wait a minute. This actress is interesting. Baruch, your question?
What would it be in Hebrew?
Hasachanit hazot. You take the noun, make it definite. You take the demonstrative pronoun this, you make it definite. All right, we got to work this thing better. Take the next one, Adley.
the next one. Ele batim yeshanim.
All right, at least you got the Hebrew down. Translate for me, Ele Batim Yishanim.
These houses are old.
These what?
These houses are old.
Okay.
Then habatim haelu yeshanim.
Translate?
The houses here are old.
No. These houses are old.
Difference.
The first one is these are old houses. Ele Batim Yishanim, these are old houses. You put your predicate pronoun are after the word this or these. These are old houses, and now these houses are old.
These houses are old.
All right, let me just make sure we get things understood here. That word Eila is spelled with a dagesh and a lamed. That's Seri underneath the aleph. We talked about the dagesh, the Tiferet HaKriya, the dot for the beauty of reading. All right, Baruch, the next couple.
It's a little confusing. Zeb, masculine, shir, mashmam.
Oh boy, we got to work on that. All right, try again. Number 4, Ze, the next word.
Zeh, shu'ur,
Shior, good.
shi'ur, me'eshamem.
That's better. Ze Shior Misha'amim. Translate.
This lesson, meshamem, I don't know what that is.
Try this is first.
Okay, this is
Misha'amim, boring.
boring. Okay, lesson, boring.
No, you put your adjective first. This is a boring lesson.
This is, oh, okay. This is a boring lesson.
Convert it now.
Okay, so shirim.
No, keep it singular. You don't make it plural now.
Oh, okay. Hashir,
Hashiur.
hashiur. Ma'asam. Masmam.
All right, first of all, what about the word zeb? Why are we missing it, everybody? Hashiur hazeb, this lesson.
Hashiur.
Just follow the example as you see it above.
Okay, okay. Hashir hazem me'sa'emam.
Misha'amim.
Okay, meshamem.
Urachata patach hanitiyayim. First of all, let's go over some of this. I'm sorry if I'm taking long before the break. I need to do this right now. The word is shir. 1 minute. The word is shi'ur. Shi'ur. Baruch, you got to get over this problem, which is done by a lot of speakers. The word, let me talk. The word shir is spelled this way, which means song or poetry. Shi'ur is the Hebrew word for lesson. Shi'ur, not shir. That's number 1. The word misha'amim. Look at how I'm spelling that word, misha'amim. You see that patak there? It's an open syllable, C-I-N-C-V. We did this so many times last time. That open syllable with a patak, should it not get the accent? No, because originally it probably was a shvanach underneath the ayin, which opened up to a chatzah patak. If it were written this way, misha'amim, then the patak is closed. But the way you see it spelled is with open chatzah patak, and this is potentially closed. This is called shvanach to shvanach, secondary opening. All right, we got to say these words out loud. I can't supervise you at home, but try to get into this a little bit. Go ahead, Baruch. Next one.
Okay, Eli Pakidim Etziniim.
You sound okay with it. Let me double check. Eila Pekidim Retzinim, good. Now to the conversion.
These clerks are serious.
Or
Okay.
these are serious clerks.
These are serious clerks.
Converted.
Okay, converts, okay. Hapakidim, right?
No, hapikidim. The kamatz becomes a shvana once you increase the words to its plural. Pakid is with a kamatz. Pikidim shvana.
Oh, okay, so Hapakidim, Eli Haretzanim.
No, add a definite article in front of the word Eila. Hapikidim ha'ela. These clerks.
Oh, okay. Hapakidim, Ele, Retzanim.
Ritzinim. Ritzinim. All right, take one more. Number 6.
Okay. So it would be Ele Aneshim Tovim. Eli, so these are,
That's right. These are.
and then Aneshim, I don't know, so Tovim, good. These, what's good?
No,
Aneshim.
wait a minute. What does anashim mean? The plural of the word ish. People.
Oh, people. Aneshim, okay. These people are good.
No, these are good people.
These are.
Hi, people. No, it's not a first. I wish I could laugh with you, but I'm afraid it's getting very serious now. These are good people.
These are good people. Okay, so Aneshim. Okay, Ha'ele
That's it.
Tovim.
Okay. Anashim ha'ila. And how do you translate anashim ha'ila?
Ha'ele Tovim. Okay, these people are good people.
No, these people are good. Don't have to add
These
the word.
people are good.
Okay. All right. Yirmiyahu, try number 7. Oreach. That's right. All right. The first word is not za, but ze. Ze oreach me America. Translate. Go ahead. An oreach is a guest.
So this guest is American?
All right. This is a guest from America.
Oh, okay. And you say,
Go ahead. Ha'oreach. Go ahead. Take that ze word and put a definite article in front of it. Ha'oreach. All right. Ha'oreach hazeh. This guest. May America. All right, let me make some observations here. First of all, that word oreach. That word oreach is a word for guests. We went over that word multiple times. The word arucha, the word meal. And the saying of that word, the pronunciation, it's a stolen patach. Oreach. You don't say orecha. That patach is sounded before the chet. Oreach. Oreach hazeh. This guest, may America. That word min is a longer way of saying from, but we normally abbreviate it by pointing it as a chirik. It's the next word that follows, which you attach the mem to, can take a dagesh chazak. If it cannot, you add the tzeri. If it cannot take a dagesh chazak in the next letter. which means the next letter is laryngeal or the letter resh. All right, continue, Yirmiyahu. Zot.
Zot. Zot. Haisha.
Don't say Haisha. Read as you see it. Zot Isha.
Zot. Isha. Yafa.
That's it. Translate Zot Isha Yafa.
This is a beautiful woman.
That's right. This is a beautiful or, yeah, a beautiful woman or a nice woman. Now give us the converted.
Aisha.
That's right.
Hazot.
Continue.
Oh, okay. Haisha. Hazot. Yafa.
Wait a minute. Haisha Hazot. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I think you said it. Haisha Hazot
Yafa.
Yafa.
Okay.
And translate that.
This woman is.
That's right. This woman is nice or beautiful. Okay. The first one is Zot Isha. This is a beautiful or nice woman. And then this woman, Haisha Zot Yafa. Yirmiyahu, do number 9 above on page 119. All right, the word for these, Eile. That's it, Eile Nashim. All right, the word is good. Tovot. All right, now translate. Eile Nashim Tovot.
These are good women.
That's right. And finally, Eli, do number 10. Oh, wait a minute, you didn't convert it. All right, Eile Nashim Tovot, converted now. Let me hear it again. No, what are you making it singular? Your reading is these are good women. Now, how do you translate these women are good? All right, Ellie, help him with that. These women are good.
These women are good.
I don't hear you. We're looking at number 9 on page 119 on top.
Yeah. Hanashim ha'elu tovot.
That's it. Hanashim ha'elem. You take your noun, make it definite, and your demonstrative pronoun, this or these, you follow it. Hanashim ha'ele tovot. And finally, Eli, number 10.
Zot ochot chadasha.
Does it say orchot?
Orechet.
Orechet is not possible. The chet has 2 segos, will not work. You got one more time, a third time.
It means guess.
All right, Baruch, the word orachot, you're making it plural. The word is orachat, orachat, orachat. Oreach is a masculine singular. Orachat is a feminine. Let me write it down. Okay, which means that you people have to be using your book a little bit at home. Orachat. Orachat. And here you have a situation of two pataks. Orachat. You want to be very grammatical, you should be pronouncing the ah underneath the resh. Orachat. A female guest. All right, Ellie, back to you. Read the sentence again.
זאת האורחת
That's it.
חדשה.
Now convert it.
You want me to translate it or you want me to?
Well, first, all right, one second. First translate. All right, let's go that way.
These guests are new. And it's referring to female.
Are you saying these guests or this guest?
This guest.
Okay, so this guest is new.
And it's referring to a female guest.
I'm sorry?
And it's referring to a female guest.
That's right. Now convert it
האורחת הזאת חדשה.
and translate.
This guest, האורחת הזאת, this guest is new.
That's right. This guest is new. Yiriel, your question?
How do you know it's a female guest?
Because you look at the adjective, it says chadasha. If it were chadash, then it's a male guest. If you don't know the word to be feminine, then you look at the adjective. All right, people, as we say in Hebrew, Tzadalel. I'm looking at the time right now. Why don't you take your break? I still want to continue with this lesson. We're going to finish up this unit. Come back at 1:30. You got a good 15 minutes and then some. All right. We'll work on this thing. Got to.